The presentation of today's racing program is a copyrighted broadcast of the New York Racing Association, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, recreation, or retransmission of this broadcast without the expressed written consent of the New York Racing Association, Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. It's Cigar Mile Day here at Aqueduct. Andy Serling in the clubhouse studio at Aqueduct. Anthony Stabile to my left to be joining me on Talking Horses in just a moment. Big day today. 6 stakes on the card. We're on the turf for a couple of stakes as well. Big fields throughout the day. An exciting day. A mandatory payout as well of the jackpot carryover in the Empire 6. $585,000. That'll start out in race number 5. Lots of stuff to talk about. We need you to head to Naira Bets. Play the Empire 6. Play everything at Naira Bets. We'll match up a $200 deposit bonus. Use the promo code Big A. Also want to remind people once again, $585,000 in that carryover, and it's the day that you have to play the Empire 6. Take a chance at that. 20% takeout. That means as long as there's a little bit less than $3 million bet into today, it'll be a positive equity bet. So this is a rare situation and a good situation to get involved in, but not an easy sequence. Anthony, you ready to go?
Yes,
We've got 10 to talk about.
Let's do
a
it.
lot of work to do. Race number 1, we'll start a discussion in race number 1 with a video of Cost Basis finishing second. Now, all of the maidens that are in today are against a potential big prize. Cigar Mile Day has been an incredible producer of Grade 1 winners. There have been 10 great maiden winners on Cigar Mile Day that have gone on to win Grade 1s later in their career.
At least.
At least 10. 10 that we know of, and we're waiting for Cost Basis. Also, Country House, who was placed first in the Derby, he finished second last year. Cost Basis was very good in this race. I thought he ran a winning race. It was a race that kind of fell apart in the late stages. Sonaman made a big run, if we can get the replay up there. Sonaman, for Mark Hennig, was running well in there. I thought Cost Basis ran very well. Why don't we pass in the video at this point?
Yeah, with you, I took a little shot against him, but it was a big effort last time out. He's got a good draw today. He's outside. I'm sure he's going to be forwardly placed again, and he is absolutely the horse to beat in here. I tried Dak Daniels, who's going to get onto the dry ground for the first time, maybe just picking up some ground late. They were the two I wanted to use.
What am I missing? Is there a tip on this horse?
No,
is there a story?
Not at all. I just wanted to try him once on the fast track.
Okay.
That was it.
It was 30 to 1 in and off the turf race.
Yep, that was the only race we ran on.
How have the Calumet
closing day.
Homebreds done? Have any of them won? I'm going to say no.
Just trying a horse that's going to be a little bit of a price.
Okay. I wonder if there's a story because wow.
I don't have a story. I would tell
this
you
horse going to be 50
story.
to 1, right?
He's going to be 20 to 1. Just taking a little shot.
I thought Modernist was an interesting horse moving forward. King Meister, maybe one that'll take some money in here. I don't like King Meister. He wasn't bet that strongly. He's a half to strike power. He didn't break in that race, and I understand how the racetrack was playing, but I don't like the race that he's coming out of, and it'll come up later. We'll see if he can run better. I have him 4th. Race number 2, we're on the turf for the Winter Memories. Do we have the replays working yet, Justin? I guess we don't have replays. I don't know. Anyway, if we do, we'll take a look at Feel Glorious finishing second, the Sands Point. If not, she's the horse to beat in here. She draws inside. Johnny, is there something going on in the truck? Okay.
Yeah, she's been, that ride by Junior Alvarado, and here's Cost Basis.
No, we don't need, guys, we don't need this replay. We're on the second race now.
Yeah, that was Cost Basis. It's funny because you're about to see the Clarvich Stable Silks again, as new and improved is going to run by Feel Glorious. Now, you can say that.
I don't know what we're doing here.
Okay. New and improved, despite her effort in the Mrs. Revere, where she just didn't handle the ground, is going to be heard from next year as a 4-year-old. This filly gave her all she could handle last time, and you can argue that while New and improved had a lot more ground to make up, this filly did not have an ideal trip. I think she got a better ride than she got a trip last time. And she only got beat a half length to a horse new and improved, who I know you and I both think.
Well, she did come back and run nowhere. No, she came back and ran nowhere.
She did.
I don't think she handled the track at Churchill, but we can't talk about new and improved as though she's some sort of superstar without mentioning that she was nowhere.
I did. I said she was nowhere in the rest of
I'm not sure how good she really is.
Okay.
They both were helped by a fast pace. And Phil Glorious got a terrific ride. I just think Phil Glorious is better than these horses. Let me stop a second. Do we have replays working or not? Okay. So let's show Sorrentina Lemon. We've missed King Glorious. No, Phil Glorious. No reason to show that. Let's show Sorrentina Lemon. This is her winning. I don't love this filly. I know she beat Nay Lady Nay, but Nay Lady Nay, A, has improved in her subsequent 2 starts. She won the race that New and Improved was in, and she was compromised by the slow pace in here that Sorrentina Lemon was setting. I don't think we're going to see the same kind of slow pace. And I just think that Phil Glorious, the better horse, the 2 Clermont horses, I far prefer Phil Glorious.
That's fine. I put this filly on top. I like the fact that she's shown some versatility. She was able to come from pretty far off the pace to win her debut, and then she was on top of a dawdling pace second time. Obviously, 2 different race dynamics, but I think it shows that she has some versatility, and we'll see how this turf course plays. It's labeled yielding, like you astutely pointed out earlier this week. Yielding on December 7th is a lot different than any other turf condition you're going to see the rest of the year.
But to be fair, they went 145-1 in the 9th race yesterday, the 8th race. I don't know. We ran so many races; it's hard to remember. So it's not that bad.
No,
courses.
I agree.
You know, it's just they're very different courses, and sometimes it's tricky how they handle them. Shelter Island, Chad Brown is being ambitious with this horse, insisting on running her in this stake race, not really looking for a non-winners of 1. She drew well. I put her second because I really thought that Sorrentina Lemon might be a bit vulnerable here, but the 2 Clermonts are the ones to beat. I don't agree with David's morning line. I believe that Phil Glorious should be and will be favored.
Yeah, I agree with you.
She's far more stake-faced.
I don't like to disagree with him when it comes to the morning line, but I do agree with you in this instance.
I can't. I could be wrong. I'll be surprised.
I have my disagreement with him in the Remsen.
I know. I don't particularly agree with you. Race number 3. If we can go to the replay machine, let's show Candy Promise's last race, losing by a nose. Question with Candy Promise, and we'll show a trainer staff, Rui Rodriguez, afterwards, is, where has this horse been? And I don't know, claims this horse for $50,000 up in Saratoga or $40,000, now comes back 3-4 months later running for 20, and Candy Promises is dressed up by some good rails and those big wins at Belmont Park, has to deal with California night speed in this race, and I just think that makes this horse a little bit dubious.
Yeah, I'm with you. I did not have this stat. It's a good win percentage. It's not a great ROI.
Not a good win percentage. To win with 22% when you're making that kind of drop down, Rudy wins 25% routinely. So I'm going to say it's not a good win percentage. It's a terrible ROI.
The ROI is terrible.
I don't trust this horse at all. You're going to try to get California Night to win.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get California. Let's see how Candy Promises reacts to the layoff. They're probably as fast as one another. I'm just hoping that California Night's a little sharper with some recency and just gets in front of him today. That's really.
What happened to the horse last time? Didn't even have speed last time.
Yeah, I don't know what happened last time, but you know what? We've seen plenty of horses go to Churchill Downs and not handle it.
But what happened the time before that at Saratoga? The horse didn't have speed that day.
Well, he was going 3/4 that day.
So what?
This
is a horse that had blinding speed.
Listen, you can have.
They told me they were sending him that day. I remember you and I had an argument about it in the show, and I remember seeing the owner afterwards and him saying to me, no, we're going to be sending this horse, and couldn't even make the lead. So I'm a little worried about him dropping as well. But then again, I'm taking a drop down also. Well, now I'm taking a drop down that
there's a lot of them in here.
Has run cheaper, and I'm an Ocala dude. I'm an Ocala dude. It just seems like the logical horse supposed to sit a trip behind the 1 and 5, right? I can't see anybody else in this race. Who are you supposed to take in this race if you don't take the 1, 4, and 5?
Andy, it's a strange race. You know why it's a strange race? Because all 3 of these horses appear to be dropping, but they've all been around this level. Because even the horses, even like California Night, when he runs for the 35, it's a 2 life. So, 35 2 life would get drowned by 20 open claimers.
That's fair. He got good last year, and it just sort of fell apart. At least I'm an Ocala dude was in good form. Now, we haven't seen him for 4 months as well. Maybe Michelle wanted to give him a little bit of break. She did that before. This horse came off the exact same break last year and won by 6 lengths in the return race. The exact same break.
My HRN partner, Steve Grabowski, says to move the chains. 1, 4, and 5, I think, move this chains here if you play the early pick 4 or the early pick 5. I'm not looking to get
cute. You have to be careful with those things. We've talked about this before, and You say they're all drop downs. I just don't have a case for anybody else.
I don't either.
But we'll see what happens.
I don't
number
either.
3. I don't look at races that way too often. I think they're much more complicated than that. Race number 4, the horse to beat in race number 4. We are on the turf, and the last turf race I'll be seeing this year, as I won't be in tomorrow. Fire Key's just the horse to beat in here. I didn't put her on top. I could have. Here's her performance in the Floral Park last time. She's a neat horse. She can go towards the front. She can rate if she wants to, and she just seems to show up every time. If you like horses, you like Fire Key.
Yeah, she broke a maiden. She ran in an A other than N optional claimer, and she has been exclusively in stakes company ever since. They tried the blinkers last time, didn't work. They come right off. You see the little freshening. You put Broadway Run on top. I put Fire Key on top, and they're just when you look at this race, they're the two classier fillies in this event, right? I mean, and more so speaking to Fire Key, just shows up.
She does. She shows up all the time. Broadway Run, I had a feeling that the two outside horses would scratch in here. Wesley Ward looked to me like he was never showing up with this horse. In fact, if anything, the 10 looked like was a dirt horse, not a turf horse. The 9 I didn't get being in the race, period, and probably was better on the dirt as well. So being that they were the speeds, I wondered how this race would. And horses like Boost has some speed, Mentality has some speed in Fire Key. I thought Broadway Run, I know they're taking the blinkers off, but they only had the blinkers for one race, and she didn't run well in there. I think one of the things that has hurt Broadway Run this year has been a lack of aggression.
I agree.
With her. And I think with Luis Saez riding her today, I think they're supposed to be aggressive with her and put her on the front end. It doesn't mean she's going to win, but I think that's her best chance in here. And I think it's time to get back to what works for her.
If this was if there were different circumstances here, and it wasn't a horse as reliable, I mean, 19 for 33 in the exact Fire Key, I would have
Fire
thought
Key's
about.
Going to be 6-5.
I would have thought about switching them up. But again, you're kind of on the come, hoping they're going to be aggressive with Broadway
Run. No, I'm not. Of course, I'm always hoping that, but you're always hoping that. If they don't want to be aggressive with her, I don't even know why they're leading her over the paddock, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Because the change of tactics hasn't worked with her.
No.
So why would you want to shift the tactics? And she should have beaten Fire Key that race here at Belmont back in April.
Yep.
If she had broken cleanly and been more aggressive, she would have. I do want to talk about some others. I think Rocky Policy, and here's the second place at Keeneland, that hotshot Anna who beat her, I mean, she won the Presque Isle Masters. These are serious horses she ran against. And I don't think that Rocky Policy should be completely dismissed out of hand in this race.
Yeah,
She's not bad.
Taken out of California by Bob Hess off the claim. Because she comes back, she's already won a turf stakes race
She won
over a course that had some give in the ground.
Now, she didn't be the killer field. I mean,
she didn't.
25 Claimer was second and Boost was third. So I don't know how strong that field was. But I thought this race at Keeneland was good.
But like you said, she ran into a streaking hotshot Anna. It's worth noting that before hotshot Anna won the turf race, she won that Presque Isle Masters.
Right.
And then has come back and subsequently won again.
Won at Churchill?
I think Churchill. So now you're looking at a horse that's on at least a 3-race win streak. She's just getting beat a half length to her. Castellano sticks. Yeah, I mean, if you want to open your mind beyond Broadway Run and Fire Key, she's definitely one. I think Rose Flowers won too.
I agree. We'll show her last race.
She's the one where, and again,
she's got to get faster though.
She's got to get faster.
Because she's not going to win this race. And I'll handle the cash. Didn't get a particularly good ride last time, and probably should have won, all things considered, last time she ran. But still, this is a better field. She's got to improve. But this was a good win.
It was, and it was her first race against older fillies. When she came to the U.S., her first start was in the Christie Cat against fellow 3-year-olds. The difference is she's facing a much saltier bunch today. And she is going to have to step up considerably because she has 2 horses in Broadway Run and Fire Key who will drown her with their best efforts, and she has 3 or 4 other horses in here that have run races. Yeah, she has to improve.
She has to improve. But I think she's a little bit interesting as well. That's race number 4, the last turf race in today's card. The carryover in the Empire 6. The mandatory payout begins in race number 5. We should have switched race number 5 and 7. Race number 7. I talked to 2 people last night that are not thrilled with playing the Empire 6 because of the switch. It's hard when you have that many first-time starters in a race that's blind. This race, fortunately, most of them have started. Race number 5, I guess default rate is the horse to beat in here. I don't know. How good is that Bellavia race? And are horses like Farmington Road and even Moon Over Miami, 2 horses that probably needed their debuts, are they going to run better in here? I'm not sold in default.
I'm banking that they are. I have them 1, 2, 3. I had a tough time with this race. In a race that's probably going to feature a horse in default rate who's going to be, I don't think he's going to be an overwhelming favorite, but I think he'll be a solid 2-1. I don't think he'll be higher than 2-1, and I don't think he'll be 7-5, but I think he'll be 2-1. I thought this race was tough and decided at the end of the day to stick with that Bellavia race and hope that that race comes up strong.
The problem is that you've stuck with the ones that are all stretching, all of them. Mm-hmm. All three of your top choices are stretching from 6 to a mile, and there are horses that are cutting back, and I think you need to have some kind of mixture of the two. You've got Mischief Afoot and Tapage. Now, Tapage was terrible last time. People that like Tapage are counting on the fact that he was hindered by kickback in his last race. And, the problem I'm having with the kickback argument, and it may well be a realistic argument, I'm not seeing a lot of horses that are coming back and necessarily showing that it was the kickback that hindered them from running their best races. Tapage was brutal last time, after having run reasonably well behind cost basis, but he didn't finish up that day either. So maybe he wants to go shorter. He didn't run well last time. I think the horse you probably want out of that race is Mischief Afoot, because he was right behind horses, and if a horse was affected by kickback, it would be more him than Tapage, because he was getting it right in his face, where Tapage, there was more distance behind them. And I actually think Mischief Afoot ran better. I think Mischief Afoot ran a better race in the cost basis race, and I just think he's going to be a slightly better price even than Tapage, who people want to bet. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Mischief Afoot, and I like the fact he's cutting back from 1.8 miles to a mile. I prefer a little bit the fact that he has that cutback.
It's a strange race because you have the 1, 5, and 6, the 3 horses I sided with, they come out of the same races. Tapage and Mischief Afoot have each run 3 times. They've faced each other in all 3 of their starts. Yeah, so it's a good gauge, and they've kind of run similarly, right? The flat mile race was their best race by far, both of them. I just don't know how good they are, and I think I'd rather have the horses on the come stretching out to the mile than the horses that have already been.
I wish I saw something from Farmington Road or Moon Over Miami in their races. Moon Over Miami really didn't do much running in there. Broke a little bit slow, but he broke about 3/4 slow. Farmington Road about length slow. Now keep in mind, Farmington Road's entry mate won the race.
Right.
That's the reason that's why Farmington Road was 1-2. They weren't betting him. They were betting Bella Avia, who was a private purchase off a very good race in Saratoga with a 2nd place finish. Did a little running at the end of the race, but he could have been a top Fletcher horse. They just needed the race. So I won't be shocked if he runs well. I mean, the 1, the 2, the 4, the 5, the 6, and then there's the 9 Orifice.
Yep.
And, this is a tricky morning line for David, making this horse 4-1. I have trouble believing that a first-time star is going to be second choice in this race. I know it's an expensive horse. Grace Hall, many people remember, a very, very talented horse for Tony Dutrow. Saw that interview. Dave Brennan was writing about this horse. Was it Dave, or were we writing about it? Maybe we wrote about it in our notes, actually. It might have been our notes. One of the two. Saying that Mark was saying, well, he started a mile. She may not have that much speed. Even Mark said she might run really well. She might really be a horse that needs a race. I don't know. When I hear a trainer say that, it's hard for me to be overly confident.
Yeah, when they start at the mile, especially.
Yeah.
If you're worried about waiting to not run them in sprints to start them at the mile, they kind of have to come up with a wow effort to win first time out. Listen, maybe he does. I'm not going to. Mark's barn starting to heat up. I woke up the dead on Thursday. We'll see. Yeah, but the pedigree's there, and this is a tough race to make a line on.
This is a tough race, and it's a tough race to start out the Empire 6. The pick 5 starts in race number 6, the Go for Juan. And I think in all the multi-races, the most likely single in the sequence for people who are being smart and not thinking it's maximum security, they're singling Spice Perfection. We'll take a look at Spice Perfection winning the Thoroughbred Club of America at Keeneland. She didn't even break in this race. This is 2 back for her. I mean, she's the controlling speed, and she's faster than these horses. She's got to get a mile. I understand. I'm not in love with her, but at the end of the day, because of the pace scenario, I'm not going to try to beat this horse. I wouldn't single her. I'd want to have backup tickets with other horses, because I think all 3 outside of her, all have a chance in here. I just think that she's going to be very hard.
Part of the reason the folks here at NYRA, we decided to move these races back was to get some Breeders' Cup participation. Well, here you go. You get affiliated exits to Fillion Mare Sprint. She ran 4th.
Where are the others?
I am worried about, we got one to run.
It's a joke.
I'm worried about her getting the mile. And she is going to be a big
she has a second
prize.
at mile and 16th.
Yep, and she has a second at a mile as well. I worry about getting the mile. I do.
She's going to have a huge pace advantage.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of the pace, you don't think the one can get in front here?
No, I don't. They could put her into an all-out drive out of the gate if he wants, and he could finish last, but no, she won't be in front. Anyway, another broad. I think another broad's dangerous in here. She ran very well last time. The problem is it's the only race she ran very well, but she ran very well.
Where did that come from last time?
She ran. I don't want to just dismiss her. She ran very well.
And she's normal. She's affiliated normal. Ordinarily, she sits and makes the one run. She was never too far from that lead.
She was the bridle the whole race. You could see she was running every step of the way.
That was her best effort by far. The buyer proves that.
Yes.
Man, don't you got to worry about where that race came from and how she reacts to that effort?
No, I don't worry about how horse reacts to the effort. I worry about whether or not she can duplicate it. But why don't you say it about your horse? Why is she different than your horse, Seguro Road, who ran out of her skin last time and far better than she did? So we show Seguro Road winning the pumpkin pie last time. You got the money last time. Why would you come back at a probable shorter price in a tougher scenario?
I have always liked this filly, and I always thought that this was going to be what she wanted to do, the 7/8 to the mile. Here she's running down Philanthropic on the front end. You know, I don't think she needs to be as far back as she was last time. They're obviously not going to go as fast as they went last time. The one time she tried the mile was as a 2-year-old. She ran against Monomoy Girl in the Rags to Riches. Now she's going to get not her most favorable setup, but I don't think she's going to have to make up as much ground as she's had to in some of her wins. I think she's going to be laying third. She's drawn outside here. I think she's in the right spot. And if anybody beats Spice Perfection,
doesn't she need to have a better scenario to run
I don't
a
think
race
so.
potentially good enough?
I don't think
we
so.
don't agree. I think our Supernova's in great form. I'm not saying she's impossible, but I think last time's the time for her, in my opinion. Our Supernova's in tremendous form. I mean, her last race in the Year Stallion Series, those horses aren't bums. I know this is a tough field she's in, but you can watch the race. We put it up. She ran huge in there.
Yeah. No, listen. I do not believe that Spice Perfection is the layup like a lot of people do believe she is today. And this horse, what's wrong with her? She got beat just ahead to Radikowski in the Empire Distaff, going the flat mile. She comes back with a giant effort here, going the 7/8. I think her more so than Seguro Row, though, the pace is probably going to hurt her. The fact that there's not a lot of pace in here is probably going to hurt her cause more so than Seguro Row, because I think Seguro Row could be closer. I think Seguro Row is going to be closer than her.
Okay, that's our first. Who won the lunch bet we made?
What did we do?
Was it the price?
You won.
I won?
Was it Free Kitty? No, it was the race before Free Kitty, but you won.
I won.
That horse wasn't Felix and Fabula.
Oh, yeah,
I gave you even
6-5,
money.
6-5. Yeah.
They bet.
So we're at 35. So I'll bet you the 6 in front of the 5 in here.
Okay. You want to give me 3-1 the ones in front of the 3?
No, I don't want to get involved in idiotic bets. Let's bet this one 6-5. I'll bet you 2 lunches.
Okay.
Plus 35.
Got it.
So I'm up 37. Race number 7. This is a tricky one. And I'm annoyed because it's tricky because there was a horse I really wanted to use in here was the 6 Hedonistic.
The one that you could have a little bit of an opinion on.
Because the problem is, as we show the replay of Trash Talker may win this race, but Trash Talker is only going to win this race if none of the firsters can run. I do not like the race that Trash Talker is coming out of. I think this was a very, very weak field. Mr. Phil, who was second, is a maiden claimer. I'm not a big fan of Hemlock, who won the race, and he might win Trash Talker, but man, is he a dubious favorite. The problem is, especially with the scratch of Hedonistic, there's nobody that's run. I mean, Eagle Man didn't do much running. On Monday morning, the quarterback who won the race is pretty good, but he didn't do much running in there. We did see Jorge Duarte win the second-time start in yesterday's first race. I know it was turf to dirt, but maybe he needs these horses, and he'll run much better. So I would not leave out Eagle Man.
He's got one other horse that is running this race. Trash Talker, right? They're right next to each other, 10 and 11.
Well, somebody ran once to the turf, right? Oh, scratched. Yeah.
Scratched.
Right.
Two of the horses, half the road is scratched.
8 of the 10 are first-time starts.
8 of the 10. It is nearly impossible for me to imagine one of these firsters is not going to run better than these 2 horses ran first time in their races. It's impossible for me to.
Here's what I'll say. I'll say one.
Wrap my head around that.
Yes, but let me just say, I don't disagree, but let me say one thing. I think there's a chance the 10 really improves. 11 really improves. I don't think the 10's really improving. I think the 11 could. Personal opinion.
Okay.
Is there a tip on the 12?
No.
Well, why's David got the worst short, too?
Well, it's Jeremiah Englehart with a 2-year-old and a first-time starter in a race where...
It's a turf family. This is a turf family. I didn't like this horse's work either, to be honest with you. I didn't like this horse's work at all. I'm curious what Maggie thought of this work. This horse worked 21 and a fifth, the 2-year-old sale. I didn't like it at all. Maybe it looked so ugly, and that's why it still ran 21 and 1. It's just all turf pedigree to me. But you know what? It's Jeremiah. I guess he could win. Has he won with any first-timers lately, though?
I don't recall.
Yeah, feels like he may have run out. But maybe he's saved for Cigar Mile Day. This is
But
the
of the
last
guys,
chance
of
to be
the
a Grade
guys
1
and
winner.
gals in this race, he's the one I think you trust the most.
Well, yeah, I don't know. You've got the one, because you have to have every mod horse in there.
Right.
Is there a tip on anybody here?
Yeah, Lee likes the one.
Who? Lee Einstein likes his horse? Nah,
The
that's
only
not
reason I
possible.
said it.
Guy's never
Oh,
had
I
a
talked to
horse.
Kieran McLaughlin yesterday, too. The number 7 Bad Beat Brian, named after the late Brian Morgan. He thought this horse could run a little bit, too, but might be better.
Speaking turf, the
Yeah.
Dam was a George Weaver turf horse. Jack Milton's the sire.
Yep.
I took a shot with Quixotic on top in this race. $300,000, Ralph Evans. Now, this horse was bought. I wonder could Rick Violet have bought this horse? Sale right after Saratoga? I was wondering
I
if
think Rick was back in Florida by then.
Yeah, this is a huge second family in the dirt.
Okay.
Very strong. And this horse has a 47 work going back. I took a shot with Quixotic.
Okay.
But I did a little wind out of my sails when Hedonistic came out.
Yeah,
'Cause they
I
were my
agree.
two.
Because at least you felt you had a
Well,
little
I
bit
thought
of
it was a little bit of an interesting
Yeah.
first horse that had run before.
I got
On to
you.
stakes action and excellent races to close it out. We'll start with the Demoiselle. 10 horses are going to go postward in the Demoiselle. Median. I guess she's the horse to beat here for Mark Hennig, and this is race number 8. I mean, she's been good. She's had very good trips and good setups. She draws well, though, inside again today, and I mean, she's probably the horse to beat, but it's not an easy spot.
Yeah, she actually regressed off of her maiden win when she got that dream setup back at Belmont Park. This was a good effort. Power Move came back and got beat in Florida in one of those...
She did. She ran 5th
Yeah.
at a short price, but she only regressed 2 buyer points.
Okay.
So it makes me feel
That
like
was a
maybe
Saffy Joseph
this was a
2-year-old
funny
one, I
race
think.
where it was a little bit stronger in the race, and she took a step backwards, and she still didn't run any worse. It kind of moved up Median to me. She's a
Okay.
big player. I'm going to use her, but I didn't put her on top.
Yeah, no, she has to, I mean, she's a must-use, right?
Well, what do you do with Lake Avenue in here, who has got to try to clear from the outside, but she's got to deal with horses like Blame Debbie, and I can't imagine that Jimmy Ryerson's going to tell Dylan Davis to take back Miss Marissa.
No.
The only time she's been effective is when she went to the front end. This would be a very foolish time to rate her. This was a public workout. There was nobody else in this race, even though I picked against her. She's a tap-it, and 7th Street, I think, won the Ruffian or one of those grade ones that are going longer. So
I disagree with you. I don't think Junior can get around these horses.
no, I didn't say he could. I said he has to.
Okay.
He has to, and it's not going to be easy. I didn't say he would.
She's going to, listen, she can win. I'm going to tell you what, though. She wins today, she's going to come with a big effort because he's going to have to work out a trip from that draw.
Yep.
And that's not an easy thing to do in any case, but especially with these fillies, these 2-year-old fillies going long for the first time. He's going to have to work out a trip. She is destined to lose ground.
Except I will say one
Going
thing.
down- going
This
to the
track
first
has been
turn.
kind to horses that have been outside
It has.
so far this week. So
It
I think
has.
that mitigates things a little bit.
You better-
and
you
it's
gotta-
up
if
to
you-
Luis Saez to get Median. Unlike the gold rail that was somehow somebody thought was a dead rail when Max Muscuri ran last time, this is not a rail that you may want to be on. It's a little bit different.
No, I think that was kind of, it indicated, that kind of showed itself Thursday already, and now you're looking at a couple of days
I don't
where
say
it's
it's
been
dead,
the case.
but I think
wouldn't
you're a
either.
little bit better off.
You'd rather be in the middle of the track, I think.
So you've got Alandra on top. I didn't put her on top knowing that there was a 100% chance to put her on top. And I'll tell you something. I won't be surprised if she's favored in here. I think it's going to be close.
I think she will be.
I'm not sure about
when
that.
we
but
when
she
we
might
talked
be.
on this program last
This is her
year,
maiden win.
the one thing that I think, especially in the 2-year-old races, on this day, the 2-turn experience helps.
Well, what happened to her last time, Anthony? Because
She didn't have a great start.
It wasn't bad.
I talked to
It
Joe.
wasn't a bad
I talked to
break.
Joelle when she came back. So I covered the race on
Joel had
HRN.
time to make an excuse by the time he talked to you.
And I didn't ask him for an excuse. I asked him a pointed question. I just said, did she not handle the track? And he said yes. I didn't think she handled the track. That's
I
the
don't
way it
agree with
looked
that.
to me. Listen, that's
Anthony,
the way
she
it
ran a
looked to me.
73 by her in her first start, and she ran a 70 by her in her second start. It's hooey that she didn't handle the track. She was actually running at the end. She didn't run that badly. She didn't take a step forward, I think is
The
what
winner
happened.
was, well, maybe she didn't. Maybe
I think
she
that's
didn't.
a concern, that she didn't take a step forward.
I
more than
like
anything
the
else.
fact that Shug's given her some time.
The winner's pretty good, but Perfect Alibi, he's supposed to beat her.
Yeah, but Perfect Alibi was pretty accomplished going into that race.
So
She
what?
just-
She's not fast and she's not a router. Anthony,
I
you
think,
can't say
I think with the 2-year-olds, I
Anthony,
think you got to give them. I think you got to take everything with a grain of salt.
That's fair. That's fair, but you can't defend her last
I'm
race.
not.
It was
I'm
not
not.
a good effort.
I'm not.
It wasn't a terrible effort, but it wasn't a good effort.
You know, people could turn around and say, "Well, the juvenile filly field was short, and Shug could have ran her in the Breeders' Cup." I think he did the right thing by the filly.
No.
You know what I mean? Just
I'm
letting her develop a little bit.
I'm not knocking Shug in any respect. He's the greatest. But we interviewed his son, was his assistant after the race, when she won her debut, and he said to Maggie effectively, we didn't even think she was ready to run today. And she still won. So therefore, you're supposed to think, going to the Alcibiades, she's supposed to run better, and she didn't. And that worries me. I don't think you can just dismiss that. I think you have to accept that that's a reasonable assumption. Now, Daphne Moon, I'm taking another horse that she didn't move forward either. Now, in my case with Daphne Moon, I think you can make an excuse. Her first race, 7 furlongs early August, she circled around the field. Good trip or not, she ran well to break her maiden first time out.
Sure.
She didn't wire the field like Alondra did. She closed to do it. Last time out, the track was very kind inside speed. The pace was extremely moderate, all things considered. She didn't break. She just, I don't know what happened. She sort of stumbled down. She dropped out of the race. She lost all chance to start in this race. The race was over for her at the start, and she still ran the same figure, and she was compromised badly by the racetrack. Now, she was not wide, so she wasn't off the good rail, but I still think she was compromised by dynamics there, and I like her today.
Okay. My biggest problem with her is the fact that you look at her 2 starts, offbeat, slow, stumbled, break. She's not going to be able to get away with that today. She's got to find a way to get out of there.
I don't care if she breaks a step slow. I don't want her to stumble. I don't care if she breaks a step slow. It'll probably be easier to get herself to save some ground. We'll see. Blame Debbie, short price? I didn't get Blame Debbie.
2-turn winner, Keeneland, breaking the maiden. It was a good fig. Came back a good figure. She improved 20 points from the sprint to the
Eclipse
2-turn
brought
race.
into her since that race.
Yeah.
I guess. No, she's not impossible. I don't want to be overly
But
tough
she's
on
another
her.
one. I mean, she's not that fast, but
What about Critical
she did her
Value?
best. She did her best running on the
Don't
front
think
end.
Critical Value can win?
Why can't Critical Value win? Yeah, I mean, she's improved in every start. The mile certainly seemed to be to her liking. The
Right.
extra
She looked like a horse going to get better with distance.
Absolutely,
Based on her
no
last
question
race,
about it.
Seems like she's getting better with
This
every
is
race.
a really, really good race.
No, I agree. The
Really
races
good
came
race.
up. The Demoiselle and Remsen came up unusually strong, and we were joking about somebody making some stupid comment about Remsen winners. There have been nothing but grade winners, winners coming out of the Remsen over the past years. The Remsen's an interesting race. I think the Demoiselle is probably the stronger of the two.
Mm-hmm.
I completely disagree with you on the Remsen, if we can turn our page to race number 9. We'll start, though, with the horses I think are the ones to beat. Chase Tracker. I do want to talk about Chase Tracker. This is in breaking his maiden, and he does have the benefit from drawing inside, so he has a better post than the other Fletcher horse. My concern with Chase Tracker is not his talent. I'm concerned how far he wants to go, because I feel like last time he ran, and I didn't show it because they basically left the screen, he should have been second in there. And it felt like he didn't finish up in the last 8th to 16th of a mile. And I wonder if he's going to really be a 9 furlong horse. That's what worries me about him.
It worries me a lot. Yeah, it worries me enough to keep him off the board.
Well, I think you're
I
think you're completely
But
off base
listen,
in this race. But
and I think you're kind of off the reservation.
I think
here
you're
too.
I think you are picking the horses the reason you're supposed to bet the race. I think that Forza Duro, we'll get to him, is going to be one of the. If he's favored, he'll be one of the worst favorites of all time.
I just don't think he'll be favored.
know.
But anyway, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I just don't. And you see these horses make these big runs at 7/8, and they look like they're going to go on.
We got
Yeah.
Alpha 66. This is Alpha 66 breaking his maiden. People can make the mistake of saying this race came up slow, which it did. It came up slow because it was a ridiculously slow pace. It was also a gold rail that Hemlock was riding. And Alpha 66 was caught behind a slow pace and 4 wide around the track against a very strong rail. This horse beat the dynamics of the race and beat the bias to break his maiden. You have to be a good horse to do that. I don't think he ran even that badly in the Champagne his next start. and I just think he's a very logical player in this
His
race.
maiden win is a great example of why you don't have to, with the young horses, you don't necessarily worry too much about the speed figures as a be-all.
Well, I disagree.
But hold on a second.
I disagree with
Hold
that.
on a
I think
second.
that you have to use speed figures in all races.
I do too, but I'm saying
You
with
don't
the
use
younger
speed figures,
horses,
so you would never have picked
you
the two
don't
in this
think-
race. So
you don't think these horses, especially when they're younger, it's a little confusing? I mean, this horse did a lot of running in his debut.
no, I don't agree with what you're
I
saying.
do.
You and I are on a
yeah,
completely page.
we
You think that
we look at young
there's an
horses a
eye
lot
test.
differently.
I think turf races are different. The speed figures are more dependent on pace and things. No. I think the reason the speed figure is low, and we can't keep wasting time in this nonsense, is because of the dynamics of the race, not because they were 2-year-olds. I understand the 2-year-olds are going to get fast as time goes on, but we're talking about relative terms. I think Shotsky's a player in this race. I'm not so sure those horses he ran with at Churchill aren't pretty good, and I think Shotsky is a very dangerous horse coming in from out of town. And if he's 15-1, I'll probably bet him to win.
Well, Silver Prospector came back to win the KJC from off the pace of
Right.
all things.
Well, the winner didn't run particularly well. It's subsequent. It was a sloppy track. Now, let's talk about Ajaweed and Forza Duro. We're going to show Ajaweed winning. I did not show the break. I should have shown. Oh, I did. We'll show the start, because you have to see that Forza Duro will break legitimate 5 lengths behind the field. Legitimate. Nice job stopping it. Thank you, guys. And makes this big, crazy move. We're going to pick the race up at 3/8 pole, and he's already commenced his move. He started making the half-mile pole. Now, while Ajaweed beat him by 4 1/4 lengths, there is an argument that he ran every bit as well as Ajaweed did in here, because Ajaweed got an absolutely perfect trip, and he may have run better. I just don't know if either one of these horses is that good. That's my problem.
Okay.
I've seen nothing from them to suggest they're that good. Ajaweed was awful at Keeneland. Awful.
I don't think
And Forza Duro beat a very bad field and didn't improve his figure while not getting left. Why am I supposed to expect him to get faster today?
These are two horses where, and again, you're making assumptions about some of these horses as well. I think these are two horses that are both going to be better as the distances get longer. I spoke to
Based
Kieran.
on what?
I spoke to Kieran yesterday. He's looking forward to getting Ajaweed a distance of ground. I don't think he
2
ran
or 3
as,
miles, maybe,
I
for
don't
him?
think he ran as bad as you did last time out. I think
was awful.
Max Field just kind of took control of that race.
Anthony, watch the race again.
Yeah, he picked up
was
some ground late.
horrendous.
I didn't think he was that bad.
The race completely collapsed. He never did any running whatsoever. He was awful last time.
I don't think that race was as bad as you think it is.
What about Forza Duro makes you think he's going to suddenly get 5 lengths faster? And nobody else is going to get. And nobody else is going to get better.
I think horses like him, as they come around and they start to learn the game a little bit, the distance is going to be their great equalizer.
He
I'm
went a
not
mile and a mile and
convinced.
16 his first 2 starts.
Yeah,
He went a
but-
mile and 8 today. He ran the same figure, and the second time he did it, there's an
I think-
argument actually that he regressed in his second start.
I
How's that?
agree. You're probably right. You're probably right. But I just think the distance is
We
going
can
to be
argue
better.
forever.
Yeah.
You and I see this race completely
Yes, we
differently.
do.
I even think Cleon Jones has got a better shot than the horses that you like in here.
Okay.
I think that Cleon Jones is in good form, should like the distance, and don't think he's impossible in here. Looking forward to the Remsen. The Cigar Mile handicap came up a good one. We'll take a look at Maximum Security beating Tale of Silence, who rode the gold rail to the fastest figure he's ever run. True Timber actually ran pretty well in here. I get that Maximum Security is a better horse than I've given him credit for. No question about it. But I will say,
Me too.
this race was over when he was allowed to walk through the first quarter in 22 and 4.
Yeah.
It turned into a 5-furlong sprint with an advantage, and I got a lot of trouble believing that Spun to Run is going to let him waltz along on the front end today.
Can't happen, right? I mean, it can't
Around here,
happen.
anything can happen, but-
And you know, when you hear some of the Arad quotes and the Juan Carlos Guerrero quotes about how they feel Spun
This
to
is
Run.
also, I want to point this out.
How about that one?
Off a win in a dirt route in a graded stakes, Jason Service has won for 24 the last 5 years. The guy who wins at around a 30 to 40% clip. So it's worth pointing out.
I cannot imagine Arad's going to let this horse get away today. It's just not going to happen. And you know, you can argue when this horse has been tested, this horse hasn't always answered. I mean, he got tested in that Long Branch, in that Pegasus rather, and he caved.
Well, he didn't break sharply. It wasn't a brutal stumble, but he didn't break sharply. And he still ran a respectable race. He lost. He didn't run a bad race. I thought it was as good as a lot of his other efforts. I just think he happened to lose. I'm not a result-oriented guy, and he didn't improve last time. I just don't think he's going to get the same kind of good trip that he got last time.
No,
out.
he
now,
can't.
Spun to Run, we'll show Spun to Run winning the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I should have shown the start, because the start is an important part of this race, because Irad rode this horse out of the
He
gate,
quarter-horsed him out of the
quarter-horse
gate.
race
Yep.
to get him to front. And I can't believe that he and Juan Carlos Guerrero don't have the same plan today to be aggressive with him. They feel the best way to win with this horse is to be aggressive.
I don't know if he's as fast as Maximum Security at top speed.
I agree.
That's the problem.
I agree.
But
But
they kind of cancel each other
They're
out.
going to have to make Maximum Security work. And last time he was gifted the race. Absolutely gifted. Riding the gold rail.
I agree.
Slow first quarter. Not saying he can't win, but I just think it's going to be a much more competitive race today.
Think there's any chance he lets Spun to Run go?
I don't know. I don't know. That I can't guess that kind of stuff.
Well, we both took swings against them.
Yeah. I have no knowledge. Listen, Spun to Run, if both these horses run their fastest races, Spun to Run's going to win. Because Spun to Run's last two races.
Correct.
And the fact that he ran that race out of the blue two back, it's no longer relevant because he came back with that huge
Right, he has not
performance, the
one. He
subsequent
has
start.
2 efforts now under his
Right.
belt, back-to-back efforts that are going
They
to
were
beat
huge.
Maximum Security.
Okay, let's talk about Pat in the Back and True Timber in here, because I don't think you want to totally disregard Pat in the Back. I don't like that Pat in the Back came back and lost in the Empire Classic. That bothers me. And he didn't just lose, he was bad. And don't give me a mile and eight's a problem, because a mile and eight's not a problem.
No, he won it last year. Yeah.
This is not. He got an absolutely perfect trip to win this race. And frankly, the two, I'm not sure you're not supposed to like at a better price True Timber a little bit more. He's third off a layoff, and he hasn't had the best of setups in any of his races. I don't know. I like Pat in the Back as a horse, and he ran well enough in the Kelso to be a factor. I don't know. I don't like his last race.
Kieran told me yesterday he was thinking about putting blinkers on True Timber and hoping for an outside draw. Well, he didn't put the blinkers on. He got the outside post draw. He's the one that is probably going to benefit from Maximum Security and Spun to Run, keeping each other company on the front end, because he was the one that had to try to do some of the dirty work in the bold ruler last time out.
He's a speed horse.
And he's been between horses, and
But he's
now
he's a speed horse.
Yeah, but he's going to be. But
supposed
Kieran is
to be
always
third stalking on the outside?
Kieran's envisions him getting a stalking trip today from the outside draw, and the draw helped. He's supposed to get that today. I don't have him in the top 4 because I'm using him in the Empire 6. He's very dangerous today, this horse, at a big price. I mean, he's going to be 15 to 1.
I like this horse, Bal Harbor. This is his Woodward. And I understand he's got a race since then at Fayette. We'll get to that in a second. I'm going to say flat out, this horse runs the race he ran in the Woodward. He's going to be very tough in here.
Yeah.
He finished ahead of some pretty good horses like Yoshida and particularly Tom's D'Etat.
Yep.
And he couldn't beat a perfect trip preservationist. I thought he ran extremely well in this race. And he's been improving for Todd Pletcher a great deal. Last time out, he caught a sloppy sealed track, and I just don't think he ever got into the race. I'm going to give him an excuse. It's a horse who, I know he's handled wet tracks before. He just didn't run.
That thing was like that was a sea of slop, though.
He cuts back in distance. I like the turn back for him, and I think he's a very interesting player.
Yeah, he's definitely a horse that can win a race.
And then there's Looking at Bikinis, my horse who you've got on top, and I've got second. This is the win at Keeneland.
Yeah. You know, you take the 2 Saratoga races out, one when he was on the rail on the front end, and to forget about the Travers when he stumbled.
Oh, no, he blew the brake.
Yeah, he blew the brake.
Yeah.
I mean, his other 3 races, yeah, he has to improve and get a little faster, but this is a horse that's going to be 12 to 1 today, who, I mean, this is a very nice race off the Travers debacle. This was going 7/8. Now he's going to stretch back out to the mile. Chad got this horse to win going the mile off a 9-month break at a time where a lot of the Chad Brown horses weren't firing first off the bench. They needed one. This horse won, and this horse looked good winning. I think the 1-turn miles is going to be what he wants to do. He's going to be the right price. He's supposed to get a good setup. I'm going to take a little swing with him.
Got a couple of trainers who've had a lot of success here. Todd Fletcher's done very well in this race. Chad Brown has won 2 of the last 3 runnings. Connect and last year with Pattern Recognition. Let's not completely ignore Whitmore in this race. Now, people are going to say Whitmore can't go long. You have to be very careful with that assumption. Whitmore actually ran the Kentucky Derby in 2016, and his races leading up to it, going 2 turns at Arkansas, at Oaklawn, were figures in the mid to high 90s, and some of the best races he's ever run, especially at that point. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be so sure. I didn't put Whitmore in the top 4, but don't just assume that Whitmore can't get the distance, because he has been effective going long in the past.
I just think it's a little curious that at 6, they've never tried him in this 1-turn mile. When they have this race every year in his backyard at Churchill, they can run in the Aqueduct. They've always sprinted him. And they've never tried to stretch him out. No, the Aqueduct's a mile, because it's a prep for the dirt mile. So I think it's a win and you're in for the dirt mile. It was always curious to me that they never tried, because I remember when my friend Harry Rosenblum used to own Whitmore, when he was a 3-year-old, he ran in all the preps, he ran in the Derby. I just don't know why they haven't tried this in the last 3 years.
I don't worry about those things. I know these horses.
Ron said the horse was tearing the barn down. And Ron's not one of those guys that says they're tearing the barn down. Ron said this horse is tearing the barn down. That's why he kept him in training to run in the race.
He is a guy who says it because he said it to you. Head over to NYRA if you're not a member. NYRABets.com for more information. We'll match you with a $200 bonus. Promo code your man. Big A.
That's me.
You can join NYRA Bets and play the Empire 6, $585,000 in the carryover.